Yeah, now I gotta actually share the tweet. The tweet. Well, there's something really cool going on. It looks like an HBO live thing. They're doing the future of Batman and Dune and Quantum Leap casting. Interesting.
Ooh,
I forgot they're gonna be doing a Quantum Leap show.
that's right. Is Scott Bakula still floating around someplace, and they might run into him there?
Ooh, yeah, I forgot. I wish he was. That would be really bad. All right, so there we go. So get the oh no. Okay, there we go. Get that going. All right, so
we almost did a Pee-wee. Oh no.
All right, there we go. So that's posted. Now I go here.
Lighten up, Francis.
Not for sale, Francis. I know you are. What am I?
What am I?
All right, let's see here. Now I go Cubs, White Sox, and Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Boom. And you know what? I should take the Twitter one off because we don't ever get the comments from Twitter.
Right.
Like, so I don't know. Yeah, let's see here. That's the Twitter version, right? Is that, wait, which one's which? Let me go.
Yeah, because they click into YouTube, don't they?
Yeah, I prefer the YouTube because again, you can't see the comments from the live. So I'm gonna remove. Oh, no, how do I? Oh, oops, that's the wrong one. I would be blocking us.
That wouldn't be good.
That's no bueno.
Yeah.
So we only have one viewer on there. Sorry, viewer that's watching us on the Twitters. Hop over to the YouTubes or to the Twitch, the Jay Cutler website. So hop over to Twitch. Sorry. All right.
Oh, Yumper. We'll talk. No, don't ban the shift. Learn how to fucking learn back control.
Ban the shits. Ban the shits.
Yeah, ban the shits. I'm all for that.
As I drink my Taco Bell Mountain Dew. All right. Let's get going. We'll get started and rock to it. Let's get the brand going. So here we go. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time for The Tainted Glove, starring your favorite man of questionable character, Aloha Mr. Hand.
Hey, bud, let's party.
And the Holy Reverend K-Fids himself. It's go time, so grab a beer, grab a bite, and settle in. It's time for The Tainted Glove.
Aloha. It's your favorite friend with questionable character, Aloha Mr. Hand here, and welcome to the Tuesday, March 8th edition of The Tainted Glove. With me, as always, is my partner in crime, K-Fids, and today we hope to accomplish more and earn more money than Aaron Rodgers just did by signing with the Packers and spending 4 more years torturing the Bears. K-Fids, take it away.
Yeah, you just seriously, we want to talk about a movie reference. That was a Nard kick. I felt like the Wolfman in Monster Squad because that one, and then of course, the announcement, of course, with Devontae Adams becoming getting franchised, apparently.
Go figure.
So they're obviously going to be playing both ways. So Aaron Rodgers, new punter and middle linebacker and safety for the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. We've welcome to. We appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. It's been a couple weeks since we've gone. Lockout, obviously, little engagement thing happened with me a couple weeks ago. That's
happened. Right. Congratulations. You're now officially an engaged man.
I am. I feel taller. Speed is just increased incredibly. And but we appreciate you guys tuning in. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're obviously going to go over the CBA stuff, the proposals, the rule changes that have been popped out there. There's been a very, very, very a couple of really polarizing possible rule changes that I think that's probably the most debated one right now. We'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the owners and the monkey wrenches that they keep. A certain few owners are throwing into the works here. That are really making it hard for the players to get any kind of concessions. But at the same time, it feels like there's about 7 or 8 different contingents that are trying to get different things. And so we'll talk about that. Obviously, we're going to talk about the prima donna, the attention whore, the look at me, Aaron Rodgers, who can't stand at least 10 minutes of Russell Wilson getting traded to Denver before he has to make it about himself and say, well, I haven't signed a contract. Look at me again. So we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers and
I just wish that guy would like hook up with one of the Kardashians, because that would be his equal in narcissistic attention seeking.
No, Kanye.
Oh, there you go.
Is what he needs to. There are two biggest egos, maybe in the United States, besides, well, probably those two right there. And I really can't wait to just. Hopefully, someone. I just really one day I want to, almost like a cartoon or a comedy where like someone hits the quarterback so hard their head falls off. I want to see that happen to Aaron Rodgers. So we'll talk about Rodgers and some of the really cool stuff that not cool stuff, but the big announcements that came down with the Russell Wilson trade, for example. The Bears. There was a little bit of talk about Justin Fields and his release and how it might cause him a problem. So we'll talk a little bit about the Justin Fields football delivery, I guess we'll call it. Not too much. Won't touch on it too much. And then we're going to jump into the Batman. Both me and Pete got a chance to go see the new Matt Reeves Batman iteration, and we both have some opinions on it. And we also have a huge announcement that I'm not sure if we should go ahead and start with the announcement, or should we wait until midway through the podcast? Should we force you to labor through it all? Or should we give you all the opportunities in the world to both listen to us live and enjoy what our announcement entails? I'll leave that up to you, Pete. But
I'm a giver, so I think we should do the announcement now.
Okay. So then we'll go with that, and then we're going to close out with our favorite crime noir films. So we'll get to that. If you like crime noir, hard-boiled Detective Thomas, where people talk like this a lot of times, and the bad guy goes, "Oh yeah, see now." Okay, if you like those, we have those. So anyway, all that and more coming up here. So as we get to it, Pete, first off, let's get right to it. The big announcement. Go for it. What do we got? What's happening?
So, as you know, it is now not only the Tainted Glove podcast that you and I host, there is also Yumper and Zvo at the show as part of the Tainted Glove network. Well, as I speak, I am pressing a button right now that is officially launching thetaintedglove.com. And the website, your site has been launched. So you can go out there and see what we've been up to. It's thetaintedglove.com. And hopefully it's out there. I hit the button, it said it went. Let me check and make sure, because that would be bad if it didn't. Yep, it looks like it's out there. So there's a couple of different things on there. I wrote a little blog about the lockout and one person's role in it in particular. You'll have to go and look at it to find out who I'm referring to. Yumper did a blog about an often overlooked movie that's one of his favorites, if I can say that correctly. Zvo and Fids both wrote about the new Batman movie.
Not necessarily. I didn't really write about the Batman movie, more specifically about the toxic fandom of fanboys.
Yes.
That's related. Okay. The backdrop is, of course, the most recent comic book film, which is the Batman. So
yeah,
so got the full-on review. Mine is just mine's more a commentary on mine's more about society as opposed to the film.
Right. So definitely go out there, check it out. Would love to hear your feedback. You have comment boxes there where you can leave us messages. All our details are out there as well. If you want to send one of us or several of us messages and tell us how awesome we are or how much we suck, doesn't matter. Feel free.
Holy hell. Please, if you were watching right now, please look at the thumbnail.
I see it.
Person for when I put the Tainted Gloves homepage into it is two epically glorious action heroes. That, but I'm absolutely here for it. So, yeah, enjoy that, guys. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff on there. We're gonna be, that's gonna be a really great place where we can have an outlet to for the written word, for the video. We'll obviously have all of our podcasts are available there.
Yes,
there's even a nice little video or an audio message from Mr. Hand on there for you.
Yep.
And really good opportunity for us to kind of share with you guys a little bit more of what we're thinking on a more casual scale. I know that for me, being a former writer, having an outlet that's the low pressure situation. I can write when I want to write. That's something that's really great. But obviously, when we get there's some things that we can't share, and sometimes it's nice just to sit down and just wail out on the keyboard and get your thoughts out there. And so lots of stuff on there though. Yeah, and you can go to the 2 different podcasts again, Yumper and Svo. And Pete, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this. The hard work that especially Yumper and Svo have put in on this, the passion and the unrivaled enthusiasm. We're the old guys, they're the young guys, and their energy is contagious. And I know that Yump has put a ton of time into this website. So again, if you like Yump, go to the website. If you think Yump's a piece of shit, still go to the website, but make sure you tell him that you think that he's a turd burglar. So, but this is great. We're really excited about this, and so there's our big announcement right there. Is get an opportunity for you guys to get a little more of us.
That's right. And I do have a second announcement. And like I said, I'm a giver, so we're going to announce this now. Next Monday, the podcast will not be live, but we will be recording a podcast with a special guest. And we will be releasing that after the fact. Due to scheduling and other factors, we couldn't coordinate it to be live, but he has agreed to sit down with us, and we're going to record it and release it after the fact. And I think with some of the things that have recently bubbled up in one particular sport, baseball, you will want to hear what this person has to say. Would you agree with that?
I think so. I think it would be insightful, historic.
Mm-hmm. It is someone who has yes, it is. Yep. And it is someone who has great insight into the inner workings of franchises, since he has worked for a couple of different franchises. Mm-hmm. One recently won some hardware too. I'll leave it at that.
Oh yeah. It's got a ring.
So, but yes, we will have that out hopefully later Monday evening. But like we said, we couldn't coordinate a live recording with him. So we're doing the best we can to get him on there. Him and his team have been awful gracious with us and carving out time for us to work with him. It's taken a little longer to get it scheduled than we hoped for, but when you find out who the person is, you may understand why there's the scheduling stuff involved.
Oh,
and I assure you, people, it is not someone who is a ball boy or something like that.
Correct. It's it's a cleat chaser. No, just kidding.
Well,
never mind.
Well, in a way, cleat chasing could apply.
It could.
Not in the way you think. Not in the way you think.
That is such a great. Oh, you're like the Riddler. You're speaking in riddles here.
Riddle me this. Riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat?
And the one that Albert Bell tried to steal.
Yes.
In fact, that one.
Yes.
We're talking about there. Well, we're off and run, so we got 2 big announcements. Again, check out that website, guys. Go hit it up. Again, tell Yumper, great job. Tell Slow, great review on the Batman.
And Svo deserves some credit for the website too.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, again,
those 2 guys killed it on the website. They really did.
Mm-hmm. And
you and I were more passengers. They were the ones driving the bus on this one.
We were the old bulls that let the young bulls run down the hill.
They're the apprentices. Out. They do all the work. We're the journeymen. We sit and drink coffee and bark out commands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hello, what is? So we got it. So, so we're really excited about that again and support those dudes. They're awesome. Again, Pete and I can say a million times, they're stand-up dudes. Their show is fantastic. At the show, it's great. Part of the Tainted Glove Network. Their most recent episode, I was listening today. I'm a little. So what I do is I go for a run first, and then when I'm dead and I feel like I'm basically gonna have a heart attack and I'm wheezing like like an allergic, I'm like Paul Pfeiffer from the Wonder Years after, he gets hay fever. Then I go ahead and got my cool down. I threw on their podcast and got an opportunity to listen to it again before, the new one. And this one's on cult classics. So if you're a fan of cult classic films, they did leave out some of my favorites. We didn't get, The Last Dragon. We didn't get PG Psycho Goreman. And we
no American Werewolf in London, right?
Yeah, no American Werewolf in London, but that's okay. It's okay because they had some fantastic one. And Yumper has one of my favorites, The Big Trouble in Little China Crew. The old Park Chop Express always takes precedence. So, I'm
surprised Yumper hasn't named his kid Jack Burton.
Well, I mean, I showed you my costume, right? I'm like almost embarrassed to post it now because I'm afraid people will like misinterpret it. But I did dress up like David Lopan for Halloween one year. Now we didn't play on. It was just the Mikado paint, but not anything else. So like it wasn't like inappropriate. But in today's day and age, I have no idea what's appropriate at this point. It was the most awesome. People literally, we sold the costume on eBay. Me and my ex-girlfriend. Someone saw a picture of it. They wanted it. We literally sold the entire costume on eBay for another person's costume. Great. I mean, it's again one of the million costumes I've got. Halloween is one of my favorite seasons. So let's get right to it, man. Let's get to the CBA, man. We've got a lot of things that the owners have locked out. Let's make sure we're clear on this. The owners locked out the players, and we are now at this point where we're I don't know what. You've been saying this for
day 100 or something like that. Because I remember at one point a couple weeks ago, someone said it was the Luis Robert days, which would be 88 of the lockout. So I think we're at like 100 now.
God, I feel like Tom Hanks on the island. I'm like, talking to my baseball.
Well, there's a couple. There's one thing I want to bring up that I don't think people understand. Because some people are saying, why don't you lift the lockout and just play and negotiate at the same time? The reason the owners won't do that is because of 1994. Because that is what happened in 1994. The reason the players went on strike is because they did not have a CBA and they were playing without a CBA. So the owners don't want to be put in that position again. And while it sucks that they're locked out, I'm not saying they're not. I would rather have it happen now than have a repeat of 1994 in August and September.
Yep.
Because unfortunately, there's so many similarities here, and I'm going to go back to June and July to a tweet you actually showed me today that I completely forgot about, where somebody was saying, Pinos was talking about
young
the Sox need. Yeah, Pinos was talking about the Sox need to go for it. And I chimed in and said, they need to go for it, not only for the fact that they have the roster, but you don't know what 2022 is going to bring because there's not a CBA. It expires in December. I said, there's going to be a lockout. And I had some people who sat there and told me, well, Jeff Passan is saying that negotiations are going well. And my response to that was, I heard all that shit in 1994. Believe it when you see ink on a piece of paper.
This is one of those moments, and we'll go ahead and puff our chest out since we've been lucky enough to be on this rock a little bit longer than some of you young whippersnappers. But when you've seen it enough, you know what to look for. Cough. Tony La Russa as a manager as well, kids. Okay, you've seen it a billion times. If you've seen it, you know it, you recognize it. Pete, you called this from like the start. You've been pushing this since last summer. Obviously, we've talked about it a billion times on the show. And here we are. We are now at the point where there are actual news reporters that are saying, hey, buckle up. We might not get baseball at all in 2022.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's going to go that far. But you said, I think you said you didn't expect to see any actual like regular season games until May. Isn't that what you said? It was like May, late May.
What I had said was I expect a resolution around mid to late March. And then when you factor in ramp up time, you're talking end of April, beginning of May.
Yep, that's what it was. Yep, and
so
you've seen it, and it
here we are. It unfortunately, being the cynical bastard that I am, I saw all the warning signs because I lived through it before. And let me just say, for full disclosure, in 1994, I was the one telling people they're not stupid enough to stay on strike and miss the World Series. They're not that dumb.
Right.
I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. And unfortunately, the White Sox had the team then I think a White Sox Montreal Expos World Series, because the Expos were damn good. They were a damn good team. That's when you had Pedro and his, a young Pedro there.
Fingers
Yeah, he with his bent fingers.
Yeah,
you had a young Pedro. You had was Vladdy there yet? But you had Larry Walker in the outfield. Yeah. You had Moises Alou.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Moises Alou, so soft and so
Grissom was there.
Mm-hmm.
That team was loaded, and I think they could have had a great World Series. And I've had people argue with me that the Yankees and the Indians were coming on hot on the Sox tail. And they were. There's no doubt about it. But I think the Sox had better pitching than the Yankees or the Indians that year, and they would have held them off. And the tragedy of 1994, there's two real tragedies. One,
three. My Schindler's List date also took place.
Okay.
In 1994, okay. So there were three.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So one is the Schindler's List update date.
Yeah.
Two is, I really believe Matt Williams was breaking the home run record that year.
Mm.
He was on fire. And as much as I would say I believe Matt Williams was going to do it, there's no doubt in my mind Tony Gwynn was hitting 400 that year.
Mm. He was doing
He finished like 394 or something like that as his average.
UNLV legend Matt Williams, by the way.
Yes. And San Diego State legend.
San Diego State.
Tony Gwynn.
Oh. Side
Tony
story.
Gwynn had a legit shot at 400.
Yep.
And on August 12th, it all went away.
Yep. Did I ever tell you, by the way, before he passed away, got that's like one of the saddest rest in pieces, that if you went to San Diego State on a given day, while Tony Gwynn, again, he was their head coach, but Tony was a lot more. He was kind of like that figurehead too. And if you got out there and you were able to, and I did this a few times, I played I coached in a couple tournaments that were actually on the campus of San Diego State. So I was able to, as a coach, get a little bit more access to like around the facilities and whatever. And so I did a couple times. And this is like a legendary story. You can always, people tell this story all the time. If you got out on the baseball field at a certain time of day, especially towards like the evening when it was really beautiful in San Diego, Tony Gwynn was out there dragging the infield. He loved to drag the infield. It was like his therapy, which as a coach, I could tell you, dragging is an art form. Dragging the infield is an art form, especially as a college and high school coach, amateur coach. And that was his bliss. I think he might have coached just so he could drag the infield.
Because he probably just enjoyed it because no one else was around.
That too. It was peace. He probably had his headphones on.
His headphones. He probably had a chew in.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so that but that's just, again, we lose so many things with these types of things. And in this lockout, we look at what we're losing. We're missing out on another season of Mike Trout. We're missing out on another season of Mookie Betts. We're missing out on another season of, Syndergaard and
DeGrom
and all these these fantastic athletes that now are just sitting there twiddling their thumb. And it's an unfortunate byproduct of this, but we've talked about it on the show as well. Sooner or later, it had to be done. And while the players aren't trying to like take everything back, but the owners have had 30 years of advantage. You can't get it all back in one bite. You got to take it. It's like eating an elephant. A couple bites at a time here, a couple bites at a time there.
Right.
But the problem is the owners don't want to give any concession.
Well, no, that's not true. There is a certain clique of owners that don't want to give anything back. Because remember, in order to approve the CBA, 23 owners have to vote yes. So you have a block of 8 owners, obviously, who are barring that yes vote.
Mm-hmm.
Just right now, based on everything we see, everything we hear, there's obviously 8 no votes there. And we have heard the name of 4 teams that were no votes. 2 of them, I will be completely honest, surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
And, the 4 teams we have heard were the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Cincinnati Reds, the Detroit Tigers, and the Angels. The Angels shock me because they've spent the big money. And maybe this is just Artie Moreno realizing I'm not good with it. So if I put a cap in, it'd probably protect me.
Mm-hmm.
And the Tigers have spent big money in the past. And I think maybe they're looking at that Miggy Cabrera contract and saying we need to protect ourselves from ourselves.
Yep.
But I will also add there is one very, 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 very noticeable name missing from that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Jerry Reinstorf. Now, a little history lesson. One of the leading hawks in 1990, or perhaps the leading hawk in 1994, hawk being a hardliner, was Jerry Reinstorf. He led the charge. He was the man calling the shots.
Mhm.
He's the one who got Bud Selig installed as the commissioner when they fired Fay Vincent, because Fay Vincent wouldn't play their game. The fact that there's been multiple reports saying that Jerry wants to play. He's got the team.
He doesn't have much time left either. He's like, hurry, come on. I didn't got all day here, guys.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
I'm up in the 80s now. Let's go.
But if you look at it, we've heard reports that Jerry was not present at the owners' meeting right before the lockout started. So he had Kenny Williams as the designate for the White Sox. Kenny Williams was handling all White Sox business and telling people to stay out of White Sox business. But with that, and then this, I think it tells me Jerry's gone. And as I've said before, after this is said and done, I could see 3 or 4 teams going up on the block. Pittsburgh, without question, will be one of them, because that business model that guy has in Pittsburgh is going to be wrecked by any advantage the players get. You're getting $50 million a year in TV money, and you're fielding a $30 million payroll. That's $20 million profit right there.
Well, here's me too.
And,
what about the Ricketts?
Yeah.
The Ricketts are crying poor with biblical losses, and they're also about to buy a European
Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea FC, which is one of the top tier European football
maybe they're
clubs.
selling the cups. Maybe we talked about Daddy Warbucks calling in his markers. I mean, they do have money value, but I can't imagine them. I don't know. That makes me wonder where their direction is. Like, are they trying to go just international? Is this what is this? What is the purpose there too? But these are owners that are so poor that they can go buy a whole nother franchise, one of the most popular franchises, not just in the country, but in the world.
Yeah.
Come on, shut your mouth, Ricketts.
They're using the Malcolm Glazer model, because Malcolm Glazer owns the Tampa Bay Bucks and also Manchester United. And they hate him in Manchester. The Man U fans hate him. And I think if the Ricketts did get Chelsea, they'd have 2 fan bases hating him.
Oh, yeah. Get that dandy out of here. What the heck?
Yeah. But
good.
It just is frustrating, because like 1994, the White Sox have a team. Like 1994, the Cubs don't. And I'm not saying that to pick on the Cubs, but that was a low point. One of the lower points for the Cubs was that 94 team. Mm-hmm. Was it the 94 team that started 0-13 and
they were bad? I think
they had the Firehouse Summit.
Oh God, they have Jim Essien as their head coach, I believe, at the time.
Was it Essien or was it Latchman?
Or Treblehorn, Tom Treblehorn.
Okay.
He was fine. Yeah, they were 49-64 before the shutdown. They were really bad. Let me think. If that was that the year they started though with the
because they started one year like 0-13 or something like that. And I remember they had the Firehouse Summit across the street from Wrigley.
No, that's not that year. They started they weren't too bad. They actually were
Yumper says
they were right in it
97.
Till game 6, they were right in it.
Right.
And then the wheel came.
And nothing in Granger but a hawk. Jerry is the long lost third Duke brother.
Yep.
So is he betting $1 too on who wins?
God, that Cubs lineup from 1994, though. My God. Rick Wilkins, Mark Grace, Ryan Sandberg, Sean Benson, Steve Buechele, Derek May, Tuffy Rhodes. Hey, Tuffy.
3 home runs opening day.
Was that the year he hit 3 home runs? Hey.
Opening day, yes.
Sam actually hit 300 that year.
Yeah.
Tuffy Rhodes had 8 home runs and 3 of them in opening day.
And the funniest thing about the 94 strike actually saving the Cubs is, if you remember, didn't the Cubs trade Sosa during the 94-95 offseason to the Red Sox, and then it got voided because of the strike?
I don't know if I've ever heard that story before. To be honest, I thought that
I heard something like that.
I felt like Larry Himes had his head so far up Sammy's ass that there was no way he
was. Himes still there though?
Himes got fired in October of '94, so that's potentially actually true. Because Himes was the one that protected Sammy, like that.
Yes,
Ryan
protected
Sandberg,
him with the White Sox, protected him with the Cubs.
Yeah, when you read Ryan Sandberg's book, Second to Home, he literally takes a dump on Larry Himes big time because Larry Himes was a piece of turd. So
there's a lot of white people with the White Sox who would say the same thing.
So some of these things that we're getting to now. So let's get into some of the logistics of the actual deal. It's gone back and forth, but really, as of a couple of days ago, Major League Baseball's offer was sitting somewhere around a $220 million luxury tax, I believe, or collective bargaining threshold or whatever, that would move up to 230. MLB wanted 238, rising to 263 by year 5. They're nowhere near close on that just yet. But of course, Bob Nightingale said maybe they're close. So we're going to get another Bob Nightingale legendary night where he like teases us and tickles the bottom of our sack and then tells us later that.
And I got to say one thing. Jordan Lazowski had a great response to Nightingale. Don't worry, Bob. I'm going to bed at the normal time.
Yeah, that's perfect. Because, we should have known. He is who we thought we were. We thought he was. So we've got that. That's where they're really far apart. And then we've got this is something that I'd really like to talk about too. The collecting bargaining stuff, when it comes to the threshold, we do want to keep competitive play. That stuff is something between the player, because the players, there's more money in the coffer for the players to get paid, especially for the mid to lower tier players, which is really good. People don't realize that most Major League Baseball players aren't big time millionaires. They don't make $1 million. And if you think about the taxes, even if they make $1 million, the places that they play in most of these major cities, the taxes are just insane. So maybe they make $400,000, maybe $500,000, if that, a year. Plus they got to pay their agent. Plus they've got, things like that. So it's not like these dudes are like living high on the hog. I mean, Shreve.
And don't forget on the taxes thing, they have to pay taxes in every state they play in,
wherever they play, and it depends on how many games too. And so it's a derivative of their paycheck. And so I'm sure they love to play in Texas and places like that, where
Florida,
tax in Florida, But like for Shreve, for example, Shreve is a great example. He's probably he's probably the person I'm most intimate with as one of my former players, and he's a reliever in Major League Baseball, and he's not rolling around here in a Maserati. Like, he's rolling around in a regular car. I think is a Tesla. Okay, I won't lie. It's a Tesla, but it's a nice Tesla, but it's still one of those like lower end Teslas. He's not out here, again, they're not out here living high on the hog. It's not the same. I think people have this impression that if you play Major League Baseball, you're rolling around in a pimp's jacket like fucking Kramer on time. and that's just untrue. It just shows you have a general lack of, you're ignorant to like really what is the money that comes through. And God, if I hear a million times, it's billionaire owners versus millionaire players. No, it's not. Okay. There's only one Bryce Harper that gets there. There's only one Mike Trout. There are a billion Chasen Shreves in the league. There are a billion journeyman relievers or veteran bats off the bench or, fifth starters that for the Pirates. These guys, they're not making that. And so that's the big part. So when you think about the collective bargaining stuff, get those bottom tier guys better compensation, because again, with service time and how they use these guys up until they basically use the service time to soak up their greatest years and not pay them. And then when it's time to pay them, you're washed up, bro. You don't get anything. And that's a big problem with, of course, the service time stuff. So then we've got our new big 3, I guess we'll call it, the on-field rules that would begin in 2023. Yes. So it wouldn't start this year, according to this, at least, or the MLBPA said theirs was supposed to start in 2023. So even if it happens, we won't see it for another year, and we can debate about it for a whole another year. But one is the pitch clock, which, okay. And then larger bases, which is just strange. Yeah. And then infield shifting, a ban on infield shifts. And so these 3 have been extremely polarized. Nobody's trying to add the robot ump yet. So it seems like robot ump seems to be out of the question. We'll dig into the draft lottery stuff. But again, that's MLB, Major League Baseball wants 5 selections. MLBPA wants top 6 picks for the draft lottery, et cetera. But the big thing are these rule changes. And you and I have talked about this. My personal opinion is I'm not a huge fan of things that change the actual game itself. I'm fine with more playoff teams. They're talking about a 12-team playoff, a 14-team playoff. So great. Have fun with it. That's awesome. But when you're changing the actual direct dynamics of the game itself and how it's played, specifically like changing baselines or adding 6 inches to the rubber, where deepening the rubber 6 inches, or banning certain aspects of the game that have been a part of the game since its inception. And yes, Okay, kids.
Shifting's been around a long time. Lou Boudreau with the Ted Williams shift back in the 40s, for God's sakes.
Stop pretending like you know it. You don't. They've been shifting in the game for 120 plus years.
Yep.
Okay? It's not a new thing. You're just now seeing the byproduct of a generation of hitters that have been taught 3 outcome, lift, pull, striking out's fine, don't adjust, hit the ball far. That's what you got to do. And we're seeing the result of this. The game now, instead of saying, hey, elite hitters will adapt and non-elite hitters will get left behind, the league is saying, let's just change the rules so we're going to have more elite hitters. The pitcher, the game of baseball is so anti-pitcher, it makes me sick, actually. But I'm a pitcher guy.
Well, that all started in the 60s with the raising or the lowering of the mound after Gibson's 1.12 ERA in 1968. You know,
So-
every since the 60s, every rule change has been for offense.
Always.
And they're putting the pitchers in greater and greater peril. I say this half jokingly. I'm waiting for them to bring the aluminum bats out.
Oh, God. Death.
You know, you're going to talk about a pitcher getting killed, you know, if that happens. But I'm waiting for that because you're going to get 600-foot home runs then probably with the aluminum bats. Because part of it is the ESPN effect, and part of it is exactly what you said about the way they've been coached for this generation. Launch angle, you know, strikeouts are okay. Don't worry about it. Strikeouts just another out. No, it's fucking not. Okay, accept that. If you want to tell me a strikeout's and just another out, and you know this and that, I'm going to say, okay, you got a runner on second with no one out. You want the guy striking out? No. Get him to hit a sac fly and move the runner over to third or something like that. Be productive. You want productive outs, not dead outs like a strikeout. Even though I will say there were times when Adam Dunn was the White Sox and he had runners on first and second with one out. I wanted him to strike out so he wouldn't hit into the double play.
Yep. And so, I mean, what are you so on the shifts? What is your? I guess what's your temp on the shifts? Because I mean, it sounds like we're both kind of not
learn how to hit against it.
Okay, so you are
learn how to take the ball the other way. Learn how to choke up on the bat. Learn an inside out swing. You don't have to hit the ball 500 feet. You know what? If you hit the ball 359 feet and it's caught, it's a fucking out. If you hit the ball 92 feet and it drops, guess what? It's a hit. And at the end of the year, what are people going to look at? Oh, he hit this ball 120 miles off the bat, but it was an out.
Yep.
No. Sorry, no.
So I feel like your temperature on this is more red than yellow or lukewarm. I feel like you're kind of in the same boat as me, where it's an alteration of the game itself. The thing too is this is something that, and I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about this, and this is kind of weird to me because we're all so analytical. It's all about the analytics. Well, if we're all about the analytics, wouldn't you use common sense and say what you take away from these hits and take and give to these hits? You're still losing hits. And I think I saw a study that said it's going to net 1/2 of an extra hit per game overall in 162 games, meaning you're going to take away some hits over here and you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's not going to improve the game. Now Joey Gallo is going to ground out to third more often than he did last year because everyone's going to be where they were supposed to be. Guys, the pitchers will change and adapt. Okay, and this is where I'm concerned. You've got these high velo guys and we whine and cry. Oh, these guys so hard. Hey, shut up. First off, you're annoying. Okay, sorry that they're better than you. That's what makes elite hitters elite. They're elite. They can hit this still. And it's hard. It's not supposed. What is it supposed to be easy for? It's not. So you're going to have these guys that are throwing cheddar, guys throwing 98, 99, maybe even touching triple digits. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to do exactly what you do to beat 3 outcome swingers. High, hard, in. And guess what's going to happen? Broken fingers. You're going to lose all these little lady fingers. You're going to break the fingers. You're going to break the metatarp. You're going to break the hand. You're going to see a lot more dudes taking it off the hands, up and in, maybe even wearing one on the chin. Because guess what? We've also banned sticky stuff. So the safety of throwing a baseball with more command, that's out the window. So these guys, I got away. Sorry, guys. I don't know. I was going to throw it, off soft away because I would have had 4 guys on this side of the field that would have been perfect for you to roll over to, but no. And so now you've got these pitchers that are going to have to actually it's not hard to beat 3 outcome guys.
No.
It's just that with a shift, it's just easier because you can actually you can locate around the whole zone. But why the hell would a guy throwing 101 miles an hour, knowing that there's a giant cold spot under each of these dudes' hands, not throw under their hands? Go ahead, meat. Here it comes. Try and hit it. Won't be able to. But then maybe they'll ban fastballs. Maybe they're going to ban. Maybe you can only throw a certain amount of curveballs per at bat because it's not fair. Where is the line? And then when you look at this whole thing, how do you police this? Are we going to draw on more lines in the dirt, or are we going to let subjective umpires who suck ass already? Oh, his foot was over the line. What's the penalty? What's the penalty now? Are you going to? Is it a free base runner? The pitcher makes a good pitch, but because his shortstop had 1 foot 6 inches over the line, that a subjectively blind umpire thought that it was. His foot was over the line. Or are we painting? Are we going to have like a whole lines painted like it's like I don't know if you've ever seen those bunting tarps that we use for practice for bunting practice.
Oh yeah.
Is it going to be
like a golf range? You have the circles drawn, 50 yards, 100 yards, 150, all that. The concept is the same.
But we haven't heard how they're going to police this. Like, is it going to be again? And so that's where I have my biggest problem is that it's not going to. I'm sorry. I put me on the record on this. You can come back and tell me I'm an idiot and I'm wrong when it changes. It's not going to improve the offense. All it's going to do is improve where the baseball is hit, where there's going to be pitchers locate based on where they can get the best possible out with their defense. So, hey, I got a better left side, and then again, how far can a shortstop shade up the middle? How far can he short? I keep hearing, well, you don't put the second baseman in right field. Well, guess what? That's been something that's been used since the start of baseball. You deepen up and you come forward. And a lot of guys like to start on the outfield grass just because it's part of their pre-pitch routine. Couple steps in. Is that illegal now? Where is this going to be policed in all of this? And this is where I have my biggest problem is there doesn't seem to be an answer because we're about to leave this open to subjectivity. And the fact is we can't trust the umpires to call perfect strikes and balls. We have replays for everything else. Are we going to have replays now because his foot was over the line and now we're going to slow the game down even more? I don't know. Well, does anybody in the chat have a point? Because I'm about to lose my mind.
But to your point, I agree with everything you said. Let me start with that. But there's a bigger problem than everything you laid out, which is a big problem. Remember, this isn't going into effect until 2023. So they have a year to argue about it.
True.
And we could be right back in the same spot. And also, to the one person, I forget who it was, who said, have them sign a 1-year deal for a CBA. We'll be back in the same spot next year. As ugly as this is something that needs to be done. It needs to be resolved because, someone quoted, all the other leagues have had labor strife since the 94 strike. This is absolutely true. But this has been brewing for a while. And I think there's one name. People don't know who this person is, but I think his absence in this is a big, big, big factor. You had Rob Manfred patting himself on the back, talking about how, he negotiated all these, he negotiated labor peace, all these instances since 94.
Palpatine.
It was actually Michael Weiner who did. And not Michael Weiner, the politician in New York who was showing his pee-pee to everybody. This is a different Michael Weiner.
Ironically, last name.
Yes. Ironically. Yes. This is a different Michael Weiner. Unfortunately, he passed away with cancer a few years ago. He was the guy who managed to bring everyone to the table. He was the guy that everyone respected. Nobody respects Rob Manfred. I don't think Rob Manfred is respected on either side. I know Jerry Reinstorf can't stand him, or the players. Look at some of the tweets some of the players put out. Marcus Stroman put something out about Manfred the Clown. I think take this, as another hot take. Take it however you want. I think Manfred is the person who's going to be set up as the scapegoat once this is all resolved. He's going to be the sacrificial lamb for everybody that's served up by the owners and the players as it was his fault. Take all your venom out on him as a distraction, as a deflection of blame off of themselves.
Mm-hmm. That's what these guys do, though. It's always somebody else. And again, the optics game the owners have been playing this whole time. They have crack PR teams and marketing teams that are out here worried about optics. They've got bots. We're starting to find that even in this whole lockout that the owners are probably using bot farms to help kind of push this stuff. So, Mailman Jack asked a great idea. What about the fields with that giant dirt area on the infield, right? What about, is there where on the cut can we stand?
Right. It's a great question.
And so these are things that, again, I mean, there's going to be a year to hash it out, but this is going to be contentious even after if they decide to ban the shifts, because the how is just as difficult as the why. And that's great.
That is great.
If you're not watching on the YouTube, but Tracy with I hope they do sacrifice him. 7th inning stretch of Game 1 of the World Series. Burn Manfred alive. I would so pay for Apple TV just for that.
Sort of like a Wicker Man type of thing, right?
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, we can have old retired players come around, dance with sticks, maybe in loincloths. I'm in for it.
Well, you could have a raffle on the grand prize winner gets to light the fuse or something,
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you do it execution style where you have 3 people all press a button to light it, so you don't know who actually did it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like I actually would be fine if they just hit him with sticks too. So
yes.
So that rule change, obviously it sounds like we're in agreement. Look, again, those of you that love banning the shift, I'm again, more power to you. I'm just telling you right now, we will not see an increase in offensive production. All we're going to see is different outs and different hits. Robbing Peter to pay Paul still robs Peter to pay Paul. So not Pete, a different Pete. But,
not me.
You rob this Pete, he's going to smack you upside the head.
That's right.
This one is a weird one, and I think it's for health reasons is what they're citing. And I'm not even sure, again, what's the how on this? Enlarged bases. And at the softball level for seniors, old men that play softball, they have larger bases because it helps them not sprain their ankle. They have the orange and the white base. And you run on the inside, and then the first baseman stands there. I don't know. So with this, I haven't heard what the plan is for this, but is this going to be a larger base that is moved back so that the front of the bag is still 90 feet? Or are we going to keep it in the same cup with the same anchor and drop it down? And now we're going to be 89 feet, 6 inches. Where is this going to play? So again, I don't know this. Maybe someone's in the comments who might know this as well, or maybe you know this. But enlarging the bases, maybe it's safe for health. But where is it? Like, what is it? Are we decreasing the distance from home to first? And from first to second, or is it just
how could you not?
And then with no CBA, these bases, there's no PED testing, so these guys are on these bases.
Remember,
bases are on
Key point. Remember that PED testing went away when the CBA went away.
These bases are juiced.
Remember that, people. Somebody who said they don't have another steroid era to save them like they had in 1994.
Whoops.
Remember that. Because I could see that being a convenient thing that is, quote unquote, forgotten in the negotiations.
Rude. That's so rude.
But just remember that too.
All I posted a picture. It was actually just tarps over the base areas, but giant tarps that look like giant bases. And I'm like, is this where we're going to go?
But to your question, how could it not reduce the length?
Right. It had to be deeper, but if you push it deeper, it's still going to be closer to second unless it's only, but then now you have a bag that widens the baseline because the inside of the baseline is expanded. So where is the baseline going to go? Because again, the baseline, if you're drawing your lines, the bag itself rests on the line. And so it doesn't go in the middle of the base. It goes on the farthest outer edge. That's where foul territory and fair territory starts and ends, which means a larger base gives the players an additional distance gap reduced to second base. And I would assume, if they don't push it back, you're again reducing it from home to first. So these are problems. These are changing actual dynamics of the game. We are shortening the base pass, but we're just making bases bigger. So it's a little bit of a con in that sense. It's a deceptive way to make it 89 feet, 6 inches or whatever the hell it's going to be. So
to try and increase the number of base runners.
Yep. trying to get those bang bang plays now are bang bang bang. And now at this point, and I can understand the saying, look, if we got a wider bag on the outside, that's totally fine. It keeps someone from getting their foot stepped on, on a bang bang play at first. But then it still starts with the foul line, and that's where I have the problem. It's again, no one's giving us. They're just saying larger bags. They're not saying what are we going to do with the larger bags.
Well, they're not giving the logistics of it either.
4.5 inches from first to second and second to third. Mailman Jack, you know what that means? That's a dude sliding in by his fingertips, safe compared to not before. And all of a sudden, less outs, a lot harder for pitchers. They're making it so hard on pitchers that it's going to become less enjoyable to be a pitcher because you're going to feel like the whole game's against you. And sooner or later, these pitchers are going to be like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to go play cricket. F you all. I'm going to go showcase they're going to let me go throw how I want to over there. So there's that one. And then the last one that stood out, the other one was, I lost it. What was the third one? The third rule was
pitch clock.
Oh, the pitch clock. Now, as a pitching coach, I like pitchers that I like my dudes working fast. I don't like dudes as
a fan, I like them working fast. The Steve Traxel rain delay show just could get annoying after a while.
Oh man, we had a kid that ruined a night for me a couple summers ago. I won't say his name obviously, but we were at a team. We were playing against a team that we should have 10 run in the first inning. And we let this kid pitch. I'm like, oh, we're going to 10 run these guys. I got a dinner it was restaurant week here in Vegas. So we were going to Yardbird, which is a really nice restaurant at the Venetian. And this dude gets out there and he was worse than Traxel. We were timing it. It was like 45, 50 seconds between pitches. And I'm like, dude, finally, I tell our first pitch, dude, go talk to him. Please tell him to hurry up. Didn't hurry up. Dudes. This game turns into a 3.5 hour game in 120 degrees or 115 degrees.
Right.
I was supposed to go home and shower and then get over to this dinner. Nope. I had to go to Target, buy pants, shirts, clean myself up in the Target bathroom, and then go to this dinner. And I got to the dinner about 10 minutes late, and I was ready. They actually had it's kind of funny. Yardbird has this golden rooster or a golden cock that's like a fixed, it's like a mojito, or not a mojito, but a mule in it. And they had this golden rooster sitting on the table for me when I walked in because they knew I was going to be absolutely flustered. So, because I was late. But that's the stuff that the pitch clock to me, speed it up. Some of these dudes need to, you know what? It'll be better for pitchers. Again, if you really want to hurt the pitchers, don't force them to speed it up because those dudes get in a rhythm. You going down because the better they get in that rhythm they get. But but how about this? Do we have a hitter's clock? Does a hitter now have a minimum amount or maximum amount of times they can call timeout and step out of the box? Because I don't see any rules there changing that. Do we?
Right. No. And, there's a couple players I'm going to call out. Nomar Garciaparra was one when he did the whole theatrics with his batting gloves after every fucking pitch. You didn't swing for God's sakes. You don't need to readjust. Knurko was another one who would drive me nuts. It's like, get in the fucking box already. And I'll be honest with you, there were a few times where some of those guys were batting and I was screaming from my seat in the ballpark, get in the fucking box.
I've said that to hitters just on other teams if they were dicking around too much.
Yeah.
Because some guys they take their damn time. And that's, again, it is 100%. Everything seems to be right at the pitchers. This is all about affecting the pitcher's ability to get outs. And it's funny is because you're seeing a lot of pitchers that are at this negotiations.
Yes.
You're seeing one of the best. He did drive up in a Porsche. Shut up, Associated Press, so stupid with that. But so you're going to see these guys fight for this because why wouldn't you fight for this? It's the writing's on the wall. The owners don't give two craps about the pitchers. They don't give their arms don't matter. The amount of bullets they have left in the gun don't matter. Yeah, we'll just sew them up, or we'll just bring in another new prospect and toss back to the trash. And it's extending lives. And look, I love Joey Gallo. I do. He's a great dude. He is a really nice guy. He's been bitching a lot about the shift and all that stuff. Well, guess what, Joey? You got shifted against in high school and couldn't hit against it in high school either. So we used to pull our right side because he was dead pull then. It was, hey, you're either going to hit the ball out of the ballpark or you're going to hit a nice hard ground ball to our shortstop who's standing behind second base. Hey, guess what? It worked. Okay. Although he did take an iPad out of my hand in the dugout. So that did not work. But he was so far out front. We were in the first base dugout and he took it out of my hand. So He was that far out front, and we were throwing a dude throwing like 75, and he still struggled against the shift. So it's not about the shift; it's about seeing players not where they're supposed to be. And so these types of changes, a guy like Joey Gallo, to them it's weird. I don't see a third baseman or a shortstop. Everything's all screwed up now. My routine's messed up. And instead, we always, I shifted a ton as a head coach. And so we had the Kingman shift, we had the Ichiro shift. What were the other ones? We had the Ricky Henny shift, which is the Ricky Henderson shift, just for fast guys compared to power guys. We would deepen up against the power guys because we'd love for them to bunt because those dudes can one swing leave the ballpark. And it works, but it's about location. And so these guys, and it's about comfort. And a lot, we had to tell our guys, if you ever get shifted against, just hit the baseball. Hit it where it's pitched and let the chips fall where they may. And that's the big part about these guys is, you say you can't. We're not talking about dudes throwing insiding out a 95, 98 mile an hour fastball the other way. That's not possible. But you have to understand, tip your cap when pitchers make good pitches, man.
Yes.
It's a duel for a reason. It's not a one-sided, it's not T-ball and it's not batting practice. These guys have to go out here and hit a spot and make the pitches sometimes. Again, there's always one mistake in every at bat, but so we got all these owners, loading it up for the offense. And again, it's great for the casual fans. I think they're getting the most resistance from the dudes that are more, the fans that are more about all the stuff that goes on in between the lines. And every time you eliminate one thing or two things in between the lines, you're alienating the fans that are already here so that you can add new fans that aren't here just yet. Again, robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're going to,
and again, they're not necessarily,
doesn't grow anything.
Yeah. Right. They're not necessarily, one of the terms you always heard was, I've heard in the past is a sticky customer, someone you can count on to stay once you get them. There's no guarantee that some of these fans you may add by doing this will stick. And I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm here. I'm a fan. You have my money. You're guaranteed to get my money. Like Joe Schmo, 22-year-old Joe Schmo, he may go to one or two games. And yeah, you want that definitely. And you hope you can grow it to more. But to try and appeal to him solely is a mistake because there's no guarantee you can get them to stay. Part of the problem is ESPN is one of the greatest
money. Right. The age demographic of who spends the most money in baseball are ages 40 and
45 and up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the most money is spent. The minimal money is spent by anybody under the age of 40, which is really, when you think about it, it's because the people that are age 40 are buying the stuff for their kids and their teens and their college age kids. Because let's be honest, a lot of those kids aren't. You're in your 20s. You're paying bills, especially if you're on your own. You don't have as much money dedicated to buying a new hat. Sometimes you got to wear that nasty ratty hat that's sweated out for 3 summers, and that's the breaks. That's part of it. The most money that's spent in the game is coming from the older crowd that is actually becoming more alienated by all the changes. There's ways that you can meet in the middle. And I think that there's such again, we do live in an ageist society, and I'm not to get too deep into this, but being older, you see it more. These young, the young people know it all. They know it all. They've not seen shit, but they know it all. And you're an old codger, old person yelling at the cloud, and all that experience that you've had in this lifetime where you've spent busting your ass, is it completely thrown to the curb, like as if you're not, you don't have the experience. I know more than you. I've never experienced shit, but I know more. No, you read a book. Shut the hell up. And then you look at someone like Tony La Russa, who's like twice our age, and look at the shit that he got as a manager. And so the young audience in general is so resistant, and I think it's just normal. It's the rebelliousness of just a younger generation. But this one, I think, is a little bit more about disrespecting. We're assholes because we like the game as it is. Why? Like, we're not telling you to, not certain players out. There's certain things about the game that I think should be untouchable. But I guess I'm an asshole for having standards, and I guess I'm a jerk and an old man yelling at the cloud because I hold to my ideals in a lot of ways. I'm flexible quite frequently, but there are certain things that are just not. And to say that, I don't know. If we see this stuff, this change is robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're alienating the fans. Again, I hear more older people our age complain about all this stuff, and I see all the younger people, let's go for it. Let's make the game greater. And that's fine. But are you really making it greater? Or are you just making it more accessible to average athletes?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of average athletes, I guess Aaron Rodgers got some new paper. And Russell Wilson is now going to Denver.
Yeah. The guy that owns Rodgers.
Yeah. I looked at the construct of that Russell Wilson deal. Wow, that's a hefty price to pay. What was it? 2 number ones, 2 number twos for Russell Wilson and a fourth?
2 number twos, 2 number ones, a fifth or a fourth, excuse me. Noah Fant. Obviously, what's their backup quarter or the quarterback they drafted a couple years ago, and then I think one of the defensive ends. Like this is the trade that if I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, I'm going, son of a bitch. We could have had
This may be, to be honest with you, this may be a Herschel Walker Part 2.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And for those who don't know, look up the Herschel Walker trade from Dallas to Minnesota. In 1989, that laid the groundwork for the Dallas dynasty of the 90s.
Mm-hmm. So this was great for Seattle.
Yes.
They're gonna do really well with this. They're the ones that had the guts to pull the trigger on a franchise quarterback trade. Green Bay Packer fans, don't, bang your head against the wall, swallow some more cheese, whatever. Go graze out and eat your grass, whatever. You are going to kick yourself. You're going to be in cap hell. You're stuck with Captain Dipshit here with his top knot, running around making everything about himself. And you're going to see now. Just wait in 2 years. In 2 years, like Green Bay Packer fans were doing victory laps today. They're not going to be doing victory laps in 2 years when they lose to the 49ers twice more in the postseason, and they get nothing out of all this. And they have, I mean, I'll tell you this, though. I will admit that I think the salary cap game that the Green Bay Packers general manager played was very decently well done. But if they don't win a world champion, if they don't win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years, the Green Bay Packers, with a malcontent like Aaron Rodgers getting paid $50 million a year for 2 more seasons, are going to be stuck with a bitch, a thorn in their side, with no money in the cap, like the Saints.
And he's going to complain, why aren't you getting other talent here? They can't.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention the Jordan Luck. They've admitted now that Jordan Luck was a failed draft pick. Now, I don't know. I got into some arguments today. I want to hear what you think about this, Pete. Okay. Jordan Love has played what 2-3 quarters of football, maybe 4 in his career, and he's obviously never won. He's never won as a starter. He's 0-1, and he's just like nothing. He's terrible. And I could have told you that because I watched him play against UNLV a bunch. That's actually where he patted. I think half his touchdowns came against San Jose State and UNLV in his senior season. Literally, I think it was 12 of his 24 touchdowns came against 2 teams, 2 of the worst defenses in college football. I can tell you how bad UNLV's football team was that year, and their defense was giving up like 60 points routinely. So now you've got this guy that was drafted. They traded up to get him. They passed on like 4 Pittman, Chenault, Higgins, and I think 1 more wide receiver, and Jonathan Taylor, this year's real MVP, all after this draft pick that they could have just taken another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, line him opposite side of Devontae Adams, and had the last weapon that could have gotten him over the hump. Nope. They traded up to get a guy that's never going to play really for real for this team ever. They're going to have to trade him and maybe pray they get a 4th round pick back for it. And compare that to the Trubisky trade. Trubisky was 29-21 as a starter. He went to the postseason. He was probably much better if we don't have Matt Nagy as the offensive coordinator and as the head coach of the Bears. Period. We'll find out because Mitchell Trubisky is about to sign a starter's contract with either the Giants, maybe not the Broncos anymore, but maybe the Saints, Giants.
I've heard Pittsburgh too.
Pittsburgh, possibly Washington football team. He's going to get a starter opportunity, and I think a lot of people are going to sit back, and that's where we're going to look at this and say it wasn't the Trubisky trade wasn't the problem. It was the Matt Nagy hire to bring Trubisky to the next level. Nobody was there, and God, the reviews coming out of Buffalo were fantastic about how they ranted and raved about him. And guess what? Wouldn't it be weird that the guy that trained him in Buffalo wants him now in New York? Why would that be?
Fair point. Yeah, fair point.
Maybe he sees something that most people don't. And so, to me, the Jordan Love trade was a worse trade than the Trubisky trade because I don't find the Trubisky trade to be a generally bad trade. I still think that Lynch was lying when he said he wasn't going to draft Trubisky. I think he was trying to troll the Bears. I don't 100% believe that he wasn't going to not take Trubisky. I just think that it was great. It was hell of an optics game to say, we fleeced you. Yeah. We weren't even going to take a quarterback when we were. Yeah. So what are your thoughts, man? Is this Jordan Love trade worse or better than Trubisky to you?
I think the Jordan Love move by leaps and bounds is admitted to be an absolute disaster. to your point about Trubisky, yes, part of the problem with Trubisky was he was hyped as a number 2 pick. He was not number 2 pick material. That's not his fault. It was the hipster doofus GM trying to look smarter than everyone else. Look at this, because remember, and I will say this, Patrick Mahomes was not Patrick Mahomes back then. There were a lot of questions about whether his Texas Tech game could translate to the NFL. But you had Deshaun Watson. Granted, looking now, it's probably a good thing the Bears didn't draft Deshaun Watson.
There's some hindsight 2020 right there.
Right. But everybody was mad about trading up to get Trubisky and not Deshaun Watson. That's what everybody was mad about. Mahomes was very few people were like Mahomes was going to become this generational talent that he has become. If you told me you saw Patrick Mahomes becoming this generational talent, you're either working in an NFL front office or should be, or you're lying.
Yep.
One or the other.
Mm-hmm. And with Trubisky too, he was the consensus top quarterback in that draft by, I would say, 60-70% of the quote unquote experts. Nobody had Jordan Love in a first round.
Ooh.
Jordan Love was not a first round pick and never has been, never should have been. All they did was piss Aaron Rodgers off. And if you were to say that they did that on purpose to piss Aaron Rodgers off, get your head out of your ass. That's not the case. They did not. They thought that Rodgers was out in a year or two and Jordan Love was coming in. There's a reason all this drama is what it is. But, they wasted an opportunity to get a T. Higgins, a Chanel, who is it? Pittman. There's like 3,000-yard receivers that were drafted after Jordan Love that could have lined up opposite side, 3 or 4 opposite side of Devontae Adams and been a much better option for Aaron Rodgers as a weapon. But so that's kind of in the AFC West, again, like you said, that the Packer fans that were going to look back on this and they could have rebooted the entire This is the biggest fear we had. They could have rebooted the Packer franchise in a 2-year turnaround.
Yep.
Without the drama, with a different quarterback. Hell, they could have gotten Trubisky themselves. And they missed out, man. I think this is going to be I think this is a blunder by the Packers. I think that the loyalty to Rodgers is extreme, and Rodgers can suck a toe. His big old fat foot COVID toe or whatever. As I'm concerned, there's we'll be keeping an eye on this. I mean, Rodgers.
Yeah.
He was not. They're not going to have as many weapons in 2022 as he had in 2021. It's not possible. Offensively, defensively, I think the Bears have been rumored now to be going after Scantling. Is it Valdez Scantling?
Yes.
The other decent speedy receiver.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Off the top of my head, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, then you got Amari Cooper that's going to be out of the market. You got a lot of possibilities that he could have. They could have had that salary cap, and so we'll see. But it's just funny. It's again, Packer fans think that we're upset. I'm not upset. Congratulations, you get that guy for 4 more years at $50 million, and you missed out on an incredible haul that would have set your franchise up for the next decade. Missed out. So we'll see you in a couple years. When Rodgers again does this every offseason, just like Favre did, he learned from the best. Except hopefully he's not sending pictures of his junk to other women while his wife's in chemotherapy. But that's not going to happen because Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a wife because nobody wants to marry him. He keeps getting dumped.
Yes.
So with that, let's shift over to speaking of a Dark Knight. That's actually good. Both you and I got a chance to go see The Batman, the new release from Matt Reeves. And I know on Yumper and Swo at the show, they've talked about it quite a bit. They gave a little bit of a review. We'll give a quick review of it, and then we'd like to kind of talk about some of our favorite crime noir films. So first off, I mean, what were your thoughts? Almost 3 hours, Batman?
Almost 3 hours. There were a couple points where I'm like, you could shave a couple minutes here, shave a couple minutes there. But overall, I thought it was I personally feel it's the number 2 Batman movie. I don't see anything. I hope that someday I see something that's better than The Dark Knight. But I think this one falls below The Dark Knight. I think Robert Pattinson absolutely nailed it as Batman. And I thought the music in there, especially when at the beginning when he enters the elevated train platform, when he enters the church, I thought the music was outstanding. And it was almost like the way he walked in, they timed it with the music. So you know what I mean? It just, I thought it was a very, very, very good movie. And one thing I read, which I laughed at, and it's hysterical, is, how much makeup time do you think that Colin Farrell spent becoming the Penguin?
Oh,
because
4 hours in the makeup chair.
Yeah.
Every day.
Richard Kind, who is another actor, would take about 10 seconds in the makeup chair to be the Penguin. If you ever get the chance, go look at Richard Kind and and you'll see what we're saying. There's one thing Paul Dano, is it Dano?
Dano, yeah. Or Dano.
As the Riddler.
Potato.
Yeah. Dano. There was just one scene where I hope that Batman would just scream at him, drainage. If you don't get that reference, Paul Dano was in the movie There Will Be Blood. And at the end, Daniel Day-Lewis, and what I think is his best performance of his career, is screaming in his face about oil drainage. It's hysterical. If you've never seen There Will Be Blood, absolutely go see it. It is an incredible movie, and Daniel Day-Lewis won an Oscar for it, and I still think his performance is underrated in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So real quick, I don't want to interrupt.
I really liked it. Yeah.
We do. Yumper just pointed it out too, and I'm going to pull it up and read this to you real quick. Yeah. Good old, here we go, Bobby Nightingale. As 12 minutes ago reported that MLB's written proposal has been submitted to the union. Everything remains fluid as they negotiate deep into the night. Luxury tax, $230 million. That escalates to about $242 million. Not even close to what the players wanted. They wanted $263. Minimum salary, $700,000, escalates to about $770,000. I think that, again, is still way below what the players wanted. And a pre-arb pool, I think, $40 million, which I think the players wanted $50 million. So Major League Baseball basically just threw out something that, just to say they threw something out. But
and what the one thing I would pay attention to, the ultimate bargaining chip is the 14-team playoff.
Mm-hmm. Because that's a lot of
I know right now they say it's 12, but the owners want the 14 because they got the ESPN money on the line for it. That's going to be the ultimate bargaining chip for the players. If you give us this, we'll approve the 14 game or 14.
Correct.
Playoff.
Correct. And today, Apple let the cat out of the bag. Apple let the cat out of the bag today in the big Apple presentation. They're releasing like the new products and the new microchips and whatever, like they do every year. They unveiled that there's going to be an Apple TV Plus Friday 2 games on every Friday night that are they were completely only allowed, or it's isolated to just
only
Apple
broadcast
TV
on Apple.
Yep, only broadcast on Apple TV Plus. So there's a whole nother revenue stream that just got let the cat out of the bag. These broke owners, we're seeing, Ricketts try and buy the Chelsea team. We're starting to see that these biblical losses aren't really at all.
And
these
always
guys
remember
good money.
And always remember, the owners knew they had a problem coming with perception because of the Atlanta Braves and Liberty Media. The Braves have to disclose their revenues because they're owned by Liberty Media, who is a public company. Just like the Blue Jays also need to disclose their revenues because they're owned by Rodgers Communications, which is a public company. Mm-hmm. They have to disclose. Now, that's why Atlanta Braves fans are saying, you have no excuse now not to sign Freddie Freeman.
Yep. They know
they've seen the numbers.
Yep. They see the numbers. Mm.
Yep.
God forbid the we see what Ricketts had or what Jerry has, or when
well, I'm curious to see what Pete Ricketts doesn't he have to disclose his donations as the governor of Nebraska?
True. I don't know if he's part of any of the ownership stuff.
But isn't he getting money from them?
Oh, that I'm not actually sure of. That's a good point. That could be some place where the books can be opened.
Yep.
And that guy's a corrupt as turd. So
he's a politician. They all are.
Exactly. So anyway, back to Batman. So sorry, I did interrupt.
I thought I really liked it. Like I said, I still prefer Dark Knight, but I think it's a strong number 2 Batman movie.
Very cool. Okay. And I, one thing again, and the reason why we're going to tell you our favorite crime noir films is because where you have the 1989 Batman from Tim Burton and Batman Returns that were more Andy Warhol-ish, pop culture, bright colors, pastels, stylish in that sense film. Then you get the Christopher Nolan trilogy, which is like realism, right? You're getting how Batman could exist in like an actual, like in our world. Like, so it can almost like rational, like Bane, as opposed to the giant behemoth with the venom. Bane just has someone with asthma, basically.
Yeah.
And you get all these characters that could exist in our world. So there's some realism there, and it's Nolan. It's it's got its great things, and Bale was fantastic. And then now we get Matt Reeves' vision, which goes darker and is really a crime noir film. It doesn't stop raining the entire film. Always dark and rainy. Everywhere you go, it's rain. It's like, and we use the voiceover, the narrative. It was a dark and stormy night as I hunted down. Like he's reading out of his journal. Yeah. You're getting that voiceover. So it's a total crime noir film, slow burn. And you get these introductory characters. And I know that and Swell and I have mentioned this. I think I was actually texting him because I had a great seat. I could actually use my phone. Nobody was around me. It was awesome. During the movie, every time I saw stuff, I'm like, oh, dude, because he's the only person that that I could really, that would go nuts like me talking about it. And you have like this slow burn, and it is like you're in a David Fincher film. It's like watching Seven meets Batman. The only way to really describe it. It's so dark, and it's what DC I felt is intended. It's a detective film. It's a detective comic film, and it really brought out some really old feelings of, I'm thinking Maltese Falcon, and you're thinking,
another one to think about, The Third Man.
The Third Man, yes. And so when you're seeing this, and it's a longer film, and it's not for everybody. And the thing that I actually wrote about on our website on the blog was that some people though just want to bitch. They wouldn't like the movie no matter what, because it's just cooler to bitch about. I call it the Ken W.O. complex. I'm going to take the opposite side of everybody else, and that's my side. Even if I don't believe it, I'm going to say it because it gets everybody pissed off and gets a rile at everybody. And I think a lot of people had a problem with that. It's like not liking certain movies. You're going to hate it no matter what. It doesn't matter. There's too much expectation. And so I did think, though, this is something I'm going to get a little bit dirty here. I'm going to make you blush. I thought this was the sexiest Batman, Catwoman, Bruce Wayne, Selena Kyle combo of any of the Batman films, whether it's Pfeiffer, whether it's what's her name in The Dark Knight Rises.
Kate. Not Beckinsale.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, hello. Yes.
But anyway,
I know who you're talking about.
This one for me was Zoe Kravitz, Lenny Kravitz's daughter, Anne Hathaway. God, Zoe Kravitz,
Anne, thank you.
Who, by the way, if you're a fan of the show Californication, she actually was really getting her acting chops, cutting her acting chops back on that show as a member of David Duchovny and his daughter's band. So she's been around for a bit now, but there's a fight sequence between Batman and Catwoman. It's sex. It's sex in rubber. It is safe sex, obviously, because they're wearing their suits.
Yes.
The fighting,
they don't have the full body condoms from Naked Gun, but
the choreography is legitimate martial arts / dry humping is the only way to really put it. And I texted Swell. I'm like, dude, this is the sexiest fight sequence I have ever seen. The way that they had a really good chemistry. She's gorgeous. And I thought Robert Pattinson nailed it. I think there were so many people that were like, again, I can go back and look at some of my tweets. I'm sure I have tweets about it. When they announced that he was the going to play Bruce Wayne and Batman, I loved it. He looked to me.
I questioned it.
He looked to me like a modern billionaire. He looks like a modern billionaire that does yoga, that's thin. Mm-hmm. If you've seen any of the billionaires today, they're not like these swole behemoths like the Ben Affleck Batman, which is also I thought was an underrated Batman that we never got to see much more, like outside of like the whole Joss Whedon crap that he basically ruined it for. But we will get to see one more Ben Affleck Batman in the new Flash film. But actually, Affleck said that Joss Whedon took the fun out of it. So that kind of is weird. That sucks. But I thought I thought Pattinson was so good. Like he reminded me of what a young billionaire playboy would look like today. Long muscles. They're not swole. They're not the big, and I thought that there was more Batman than Bruce Wayne. There was the Batman is the focal point. And usually in these films, Bruce Wayne is conflicted and scarred and blah, blah, blah. But in this case, this was Batman and then his alter ego, Bruce Wayne, as opposed to Bruce Wayne and his alter ego, Batman. And I'll leave it at this. Someone pointed this out, and I can't remember who it was. But if you look at the time in which we are today, modern day, and then the time in which Bruce Wayne's parents were killed, it's highly likely that his parents were killed in front of him while they were leaving Shrek.
That's right.
Because there's around that time they were leaving Shrek. So I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, oh gosh, darn it, donkey. So with that being said, we don't have to delve on too much. Let's talk about our favorite crime noir films. And again, if you're not familiar with what crime noir films are, it's fun to say the word noir. I love the word noir. But it's a subgenre of crime fiction. You have right and wrong. It's not super defined.
There's moral questions.
Correct. And even your protagonist is not really trustworthy.
Yes.
Honestly, it's more Han Solo shoots first kind of a concept, characters than it would be, just a normal average good guy. So this crime noir films, there's so many that come out. And
that was my phone.
It's a crime noir. That's that phone. Do you have to go get into your costume? But I guess let's kind of go back and forth. So if you're going to say, we don't have to do like our favorites, like in order, but let's do 5 of our favorite, 5 come to mind. What's the first one that comes to mind for you?
First one is somewhat recent. LA Confidential.
Oh, good one. Very good.
Yeah. Kevin Spacey, I know he's a taboo subject right now, but I thought Russell Crowe was incredible in the movie. I thought he should have got nominated for an Oscar, which he did not. Kim Basinger actually won an Oscar for her supporting role in the movie. The unfortunate thing LA Confidential had going for it when it came out, it went up against this little movie on the Oscar night called Titanic, which destroyed everything in its path come Oscar night. But LA Confidential would be like one of the top ones for me.
Okay. For me, I used to show this in my class. I don't show it anymore. It was either this, the Maltese Falcon, or Casablanca. But The Big Sleep with Humphrey Bogart, based on the Raymond Chandler novel.
Lauren Bacall, right?
Lauren Bacall. You've got Howard Hawks, the director. Again, rough cut, seductive that femme fatale. The violence, the respectable body count, and obviously you got your twists, but you've got you got your dialogue that is always rough cut. You've got a rough cut. Like the male characters are male characters. They're like when we're seeing Batman. When Batman, the bad guys are really bad, and there's also that gray area that everybody in that world lives in. And The Big Sleep is great. Again, that's if you've never seen The Big Sleep. I can't remember what year it came out, but it's
we're talking like 46, 47, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's 46, yeah. I can pull that up. I just pulled that up. So 46. So that's a good one. If you haven't seen The Big Sleep, definitely recommend that one. That one plays like a modern film. In fact, most of our modern, if you want to say thrillers, could probably pay a little bit more attention to what The Big Sleep brings it, because there's some great twists in that one.
Yeah, I think that's great. The second one I'm going to go with is Touch of Evil. Charlton Heston, Rita Hayworth, Orson Welles. Orson Welles directed it too. And it's just, Touch of Evil is the movie that they keep referring to in the movie Get Shorty. That is the movie they keep referring to throughout the film Get Shorty. At the end, at the one point in Get Shorty, when you see John Travolta in the movie theater, he is watching the end of Touch of Evil. It's basically set in a small Mexican town. No one is who they seem to be. And it's just basically like the double, triple cross.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, while the director is pretty reprehensible, I will say that Chinatown, starring Jack Nicholson. Is that another Faye Dunaway, I believe? Is that
Yes.
Faye Dunaway?
Done fade away. Yeah.
John Huston, Angelica Houston's dad, the father.
Mhm.
11, I think it was 11 Oscars nominated for 11 Oscars. It's a 1930s, Southern California, which again, that era in SoCal, especially around the Hollywood kind of area, when it was kind of like the Wild West still, especially with gangsters and the power struggle. I mean, we're talking about Black Dahlia time when studio heads were despicable humans doing despicable things. And you've got this Polanski classic, Roman Polanski, the director, who obviously is not a great person. But this, you got Jack Nicholson. I mean, the whole thing starts out like he puts his nose in where he shouldn't, right?
Yep.
And he gets his nose pays a price. And so one of the more iconic pictures of Jack Nicholson I remember growing up was seeing him with the bandage over his nose. And when you see the film, you'll know what he's talking about. But you want to talk about a crime noir film that has a twist ending. Oh my God. And if you have seen season 2 of True Detective, which is a very good season of the series.
That's the Vince Vaughn season, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the best, but I thought it was every season of True Detective was great to me. But I thought the crime stuff, it really, you could tell that was influenced by Chinatown. And it's an astounding film. It really is. But that's a 1974. And again, that was actually when I was in high school, dude, no kidding. I was in high school. We got to watch that in my regular film study class at school. That's school. R-rated. Think about when you think about the ending of that film, I'm like, what just happened, Mr. Fowler? But that was a great one.
Next one I'd go with is from the master of suspense, Mr. Alfred Hitchcock, with one of his favorite stars, Cary Grant, Notorious. Have you ever seen it?
Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What was it?
Notorious.
Oh, Notorious?
Cary Grant. God, I'm blanking on her name. Ingrid Bergman.
Hold on. I might need to see the post.
Yeah. Cary Grant is
not the Biggie Smalls movie?
No, not the Biggie Smalls movie. This is from 1947.
Biggie.
Cary Grant is a government agent. I think it's OSS at the time, which became the CIA. Ingrid Bergman is the daughter of a high-profile German Nazi member, if you will. And this takes place post-World War II, and it's trying to Cary Grant's trying to use her to get to him, and they wind up falling in love. And then the ending is basically Cary Grant comes in on I don't want to say the white horse, but Cary Grant goes in and messes up all their plans and takes her away.
Oh, okay. And obviously, Cary Grant and Hitchcock had multiple films together.
Yes, and there's another one I'll mention if you don't, and I'm sure you know which one it is.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Oh wait,
yes, that would be the one. I
don't
necessarily know if it's film noir, but I'm going with it.
Okay, all right. For me, I think the next one on that list, we've been using a lot of older ones because black and white seems to play really well. Yes. With the crime noir kind of style, but you've got it counts. It's sci-fi, man. Blade Runner, 1980.
Oh God, yes.
It's a science fiction crime noir. Also, Never Stops Raining. Sound familiar? Where
and at the end it does.
Oh yeah, that's right. Finally, at the end.
Yes.
But it does at the end. It also stops raining at the end of the Batman too, apparently. So, but this is it's had multiple different cuts, versions of the film too. But Harrison Ford, in his peak, Rutger Hauer, rest in peace, who passed away a couple years ago. Him and somebody else passed away like around the same time, both from the cast, I believe. And it's an existential film about what is human. Is it? It kind of reminds me a lot of Westworld too. Westworld, which is what makes us human. What makes us feelings. Our response to memories and the dreaming, right? As they kind of, And again, great sequel, Blade Runner 2049, one of my favorite films of the year, of that year, as well. Great continuation of it. And again, it's a really emotional, intense, dark, and it has all that shadow, the shadows and the rainy and the brooding investigative hero that we're not really sure if they're good or bad. That anti-hero, and that the metropolis, the metropolitan kind of like design of a city, right? The city plays a character, just like Gotham City plays a character in the Batman. Gotham City is a character in the film, or in all the Batman films, really.
Yes.
And in the same way, Ridley Scott's
future Los Angeles is a character.
Yep.
In that film. Yeah. Yep. Next one for me is, it's a cheap, easy answer, and really there's no explanation needed. The Maltese Falcon.
Oh yeah.
This movie should be like required viewing for any person who wants to be involved in cinema in any way, shape, or form. What's amazing about this film, it is John Huston's first directorial. It's his directorial debut.
Oh, gotcha.
And this is the movie that started Humphrey Bogart on the way to superstardom, which was sealed a year later, I want to say, with Casablanca. He was the only reason he got these roles because he was a Warner Brothers contract player, and they needed a warm body, and they didn't think Maltese Falcon was going to do anything. So it wasn't one of their high profile projects per se. So that's sort of because he had been doing nothing but gangster movies before that, really. He was he did several, he was in at least 2 James Cagney gangster movies. Like Opposite Cagney is another gangster.
Sure. Yep. And so for me, and this one's kind of a borderline noir, borderline psychological thriller, but I do consider it to be, again, just when you listen to the city plays a character, you got an outsider, the music itself, a lot of like jazz, and you've got all that, and you've got an outsider that is kind of isolated and in a crime-ridden hellscape, basically. And that would be Taxi Driver from Martin Scorsese. The main character, is it Trickle? Travis Bickle. Cole Trickle's from Tom Cruise racing movie.
Yes.
Days of Thunder.
Dick Trickle's the NASCAR driver.
And Dick Trickle's also what happens when your prostate gives out. But
yes.
You have this fantastic film against the backdrop of a dirty, seething city, a dude that slowly degrades down with anger. Cary, my fiance, Cary, I was watching it. She came in the back and I was watching it one day. And it's the scene where he takes her to the theater, which I'm not going to give too much away. But when he takes
Sybil Shepherd?
When he takes Sybil Shepherd to go
to the movies. Takes her to the movies.
Oh my God. Cary's response was like, what the hell are you watching? And I see his character he being so deep into the alienation that to him, that's not abnormal. But to her, who again, she's fantastic and gorgeous in this film. She is like, are you kidding me right now? What is this? And so again, that and then finally when he becomes the vigilante, as he slowly gives in to the madness and the whole thing of with Jodie Foster's underage prostitute character, and there's just it's so dark, and I do love it. And it's just, again, man out of his time finds no redemption kind of thing.
And I'll say, I got to point out 2 things about that movie, because that's one of my absolute favorites. A young Albert Brooks.
Yep.
Was that his film debut? It might have been. I'm not sure.
Could have been.
And also the whole conversation about we are the people versus we are the people.
Let's see here. That was his first film. Good call, Pete. Very good call.
And of course, like you said, Sybil Shepherd looks outstanding. And unfortunately, with Taxi Driver, the Jodie Foster character is in some ways what prompted Hinckley, wasn't it?
Yep.
With
President Reagan
shooting President Reagan. He had he was going to save her or something. So, unfortunately it plays a role in a real life incident as well.
Kind of like Catcher in the Rye with Mark David Chapman shooting John Lennon.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got one more. Did you have something else?
Oh, no, go for it. Go for it.
Say the last one I have is The Third Man.
Okay, very good.
And, you know, Joseph Cotton. It has a lot of the Citizen Kane, was it Mercury Theater players?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what they're called? Joseph Cotton.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Orson Welles as Harry Lime, who is not the person Joseph Cotton thought he was, to say the least. Takes place in post-war Vienna, was made about 48, 49, somewhere around there. You know, and they spend a lot of time in the sewers for some reason in this movie. But it also is a case where you're talking about the people aren't who they appear to be, which I think is one of the crime noir big themes is, you know, the person you're seeing is not who you think they are.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool, by the way, too. We've progressed as a society that when you now see some of the more modern crime noir films, we've flipped some of the gender roles too. So the femme fatale isn't necessarily a female, and our protagonists aren't necessarily male characters either. We've gotten to the point now where it's really interchangeable. You know, the old archetype or the trope or whatever you want to call it of the femme fatale is no longer necessary. But it is someone in that the fatale, I guess we could call it, the character that double crosses everybody, but is so attractive that you want to help them and you want to whatever. So that's a really good one. Now I have a couple. I know that Yumper threw it in the chat too. It's just too easy. We mentioned it earlier. It is a David Fincher film. 7 would be a really easy way to go, but I'm not going to go with 7. I'm going to go with another David Fincher film that I think is brilliant, that I probably can watch at any point, at any time when it's on, starring Robert Downey Jr., starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and it is Zodiac from 2007. I think it's an absolute fantastic film. It's probably one of the most underrated crime noir films of the last 20, 30 years. It is just an incredible, Jake Gyllenhaal obsessed with, he's a cartoonist at the Sacramento Bee, I believe it is. And he's trying to track down the Zodiac. And Robert Downey Jr. is the reporter. And obviously Zodiac is teasing and taunting with, the police and, the whole city of San Francisco. And it just, holy smokes, man. The sequence is, I can never get over the sequence. And if you know the story of the Zodiac killer, the two teenagers that are stabbed in the park by the lake, that scene to me was so disturbing because you can hear the crunching of the chest plate as there's the repeated stabs and with the blade, and you're just like, like it really does hit you. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene where Jake Gyllenhaal thinks he's found the Zodiac, and he's in the house of the guy that played Roger Rabbit's voice. In his house, he's at Charles Fleischer's house, and Fleischer gets real creepy on him. God, that scene in the theater, man, I was on the edge of my seat. And it's a dirty, grungy look into, again, the serial killer that at the time we didn't know who was. And now I think we've pretty much solved that. That's now been that cold case has been solved through DNA and through some old journals. So they do know, I believe, who the Zodiac killer was, and it wasn't Ted Cruz's dad, like Donald Trump him of. But so that to me is a good one. I mean, but you could go. I mean, again, it's so. I mean, there's just so hard because again, we want to get modern. I mean, you got Memento from Christopher Nolan, another great crime noir film. You've got Drive with Ryan Gosling, another really great one. He's a stunt driver. You know what's a good one that not a lot of people know of? There was a remake with Josh Brolin, but the original was much better. Is Old Boy. The dude literally, Park Chan-wook, the dude goes out and beats people to death with a hammer. It's a fantastic noir film, and it does model after that crime noir. King of New York, really good one. You've got Dark City, really good one with Kiefer Sutherland. Very Blade Runner-ish kind of, where everybody falls asleep at a certain time and they're like remaking things. The Usual Suspects goes in there probably. Devil in a Blue Dress is good with Denzel Washington. Again, and I'll say this too, and it just came out, so it's probably lesser seen, but and it's a remake, but Nightmare Alley, both the original version from the 40s, like 47 or whatever, but the new one as well, with Bradley Cooper is fantastic crime noir. So those, if you find yourself going, hey, I know that film, I liked that movie, and you hear us talking about these other films and you haven't seen them, guys, go see them. Pop them in. You can find them. Sin City is a great one. Just Swo says Sin City. Yeah, I mean that literally is a crime noir from Frank Miller. And again, also Always Raining, but that was more stylistic in a comic book sense, a graphic novel kind of sense too, because the way that the art style, and that actually is an interesting story. Frank Miller wasn't in the Directors Guild, and Robert Rodriguez wanted to give him top billing because it was his project, and so Robert Rodriguez basically got booted out of the Directors Guild just because he wanted to put Frank Miller. So he did it, and he was booted out, and that's why he has a lot of his stuff now based in Austin. He does a lot more independent because he doesn't have to deal with the Directors Guild. And Frank Miller, obviously, that was Frank Miller's project. That was his graphic novel, and he basically directed the whole thing. And Robert Rodriguez is such a stand-up dude. That's a really interesting story about all that, how that film was made. But that's a good one too. So yeah, I mean, but if you heard us talking about these films, definitely go check them out. Fargo's a good one too, Yumper. That's a really good one. Again, and it's weird how crime noir has so many different. The TV show Fargo, also crime noir, and brilliant television, brilliant. My favorite series of TV ever is season 2 of Fargo. Period. And that goes a long way with Westworld and True Detective, those and Sopranos seasons, and
and there's elements of crime noir in Raging Bull as an example. If you ever watch the movie Raging Bull, there's elements of it in there. There's a movie from '67, and you and I have talked about it before, called Point Blank with Lee Marvin.
Inspiration for
Payback with Mel Gibson.
Correct.
That's where, I mean, if you watch those two movies, you see the inspirations. There's a movie called Suddenly with Frank Sinatra from the 50s that had Sinatra's character was basically breaks into someone's house and holds the family hostage so that he could assassinate the president. There were eerie similarities between that and the Kennedy assassination. So Suddenly was taken out of syndication or out of viewing for decades. It basically sat on a shelf where no one could see it. Another one that jumps to mind immediately that also stars Frank Sinatra. Well, there's two actually. The Man with the Golden Arm is one. And then The Manchurian Candidate is another, which if you've never seen The Manchurian Candidate, the Sinatra version, not the Denzel version, watch it. Angela Lansbury goes completely against who everyone thinks she is, Murder, She Wrote, the nice old lady. Her character goes completely against that. And it's shocking how far completely against it goes. And remember, she made this long before Murder, She Wrote. I didn't see it until long after she made Murder, She Wrote. So her character and the arc her character takes is absolutely stunning and mind-blowing. And you're watching it going, holy shit. And you'll also hear, little history lesson, Sirhan, who assassinated Robert Kennedy, was called a Manchurian Candidate. He was called that because basically they believe he was set up the same way the character in the movie The Manchurian Candidate was set up. And I'm not going to go into all the specifics of it.
The MK Ultra, the MK Ultra stuff through the CIA, correct? Is that the acid hypnosis and psychedelic mind
for mind experimentation for like a couple weeks.
Big in the 70s too. That was like a big hot conspiracy theory.
Patty Hearst supposedly had with the Liberation Symbiotic Army, whatever the fuck it was.
the Symbian Army. Wait, isn't Symbian like some? And of course, we totally left out Little Yumper from Yumper and Swo's at the show. His favorite crime noir film of all time. Like he doesn't stop talking about it, which is Encanto. So Encanto is his favorite crime noir film. So he's really excited about that being on Disney Plus.
He might go watch it after he wraps up here.
Yes, 3 weeks he won't be here. So yeah, we got, and again, these are great films. It's so great to dig into the subgenres of film and all this stuff. Evil dies tonight. But we're so used to just the basic rom-coms or the basic actions or the basic sci-fi. Dig into the subgenres of some of the films that are out there. Don't just, there's such a great diverse cross-section of film to experience and to enjoy that aren't your run of the mill type of films. They're they're the dirtier sides of life, the gray area, the real life. Let's be honest. I mean, if you've ever been walking down a dark alley and you've seen stuff that's kind of sketch, that life is not puppy dogs and ice cream and bright colors. It's dark, it's dingy, it's dirty. It doesn't wipe off sometimes. The blood
it's like being on the mean streets of Inglewood.
Yep. I just don't get it. So with that, we got a really great conversation. Again, remind you guys, check out the website, thetaintedglove.com. We launched tonight. Got you guys that were a part of this. Thank you guys for being a part of it. Again, check out Yumper and Swow at the show. Give them a follow on the Twitters and the Twatters. Obviously, give us a like on this. Smash the like button. Give us a review. Give us a follow. Go also on to the 8mm. Thank you, Man Jack. Oh my God, I can't believe we forgot that one. Absolutely fantastic, Nick Cage and James Gandolfini. But smash that like. Again, go to the website. There's also, you can join a newsletter so that you could actually, every time we post a blog or a video or a podcast, you get an email and it pushes to you and lets you know that, hey, there's a new one. Check it out. So it'll allow you guys. It'll take away some of the guesswork for you guys to enjoy hopefully some of the stuff that we do here. But other than that, for myself, I'm really thankful again to be able to hang out and have a good conversation with Pete, talk about some stuff that we love. Next week's going to be a really great show. Make sure you tune in. You do not want to miss next week's podcast show. It depends on how we record. We might be able to show the interview
after the fact
as a stream at some point. Yeah, after the fact. So, but for me, guys, I really do appreciate you guys. Love film, love sports. Be patient. Be patient with the players in this whole process with the CBA. Remember, they're not the bad guys. The bad guys are the ones that actually have the padlock that can unlock it at any point. So be kind to each other. And with that, Pete, I'm going to let you go take on it out. Any final thoughts and take us on out, bud?
Yeah, thanks again for listening. Without you, we're nothing. The greatest thing someone can give someone else is their time. So we truly appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, whether it's for a minute, for the entire show, whatever it may be. Do go check out the website, thetaintedglove.com. Again, next week we won't be live, but we will be posting a podcast. And again, we have the time lined up with our guest. We'll be recording it, and we will see if we can get the video of it posted after the fact. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Thank you very much. And again, with that, we'll let Yeah Dog take it away. And aloha.